and welcome to Your Time in the Kitchen. In this video I'm going to be showing you something a little bit more bougie than your standard bangers and mash, but something that is still perfectly student safe. And what I mean by student safe is that the ingredients are cheap and easy to find, you don't need any weird or wonderful equipment to make it, and it is an easy recipe. And I can vouch for the recipe being student safe because I myself went through quite a lot of sausage when I was a student. Hey, you get your mind out of the gutter, that is not what I meant. What I meant is I made this recipe quite a lot when I was a student, and I also made quite a lot of the pepper and smoked sausage recipe that I did in the last student recipe video, so you can check that out as well. Anyway, enough of me banging on. Do you get it? It's a joke about sausages, bangers. Anyway, let's get cooking. So to make this recipe you will need a glug or two of cooking oil, 6 red onions sliced. Now I've cut these up in advance because if I tried to do it during filming, this would be a mess. More of a mess. My makeup would run basically. And if you're going to cut up as many as 6 onions, your eyes are going to start watering. My advice to you is do not rub your eyes. Just don't touch them at all until you're completely done. Just keep persevering with the onions. Let the tears fall, it'll add seasoning. And then when you're completely done, wash your hands and grab a tissue and just dab your eyes lightly. But don't rub them and don't touch them with your hands even after you've washed them. 2 dessertspoonfuls of brown sugar, 2 dessertspoonfuls of onion gravy granules, a dessertspoonful of bouillon powder. Now bouillon powder is basically like vegetable stock, so you can use a vegetable stock cube instead, but this stuff is actually slightly cheaper than the stock cubes for the amount that you get in a pack. And you'll find it next to all the stocks in the supermarket. Now, assuming that most people are going to serve this with mashed potatoes, I'm reminding you to add potatoes to your shopping list. But I'm not going to go over a recipe for mashed potatoes because I feel like that's something that most people will probably know how to make already. And if you don't, you can look up a recipe elsewhere. So the first thing you want to do is get your pan on a medium heat and add in a glug or 2 of oil to your frying pan. So you're going to want to use the biggest frying pan that you've got. You can use a pot if you've not got a really wide frying pan, but it's best to do it in a frying pan and one that's large because you want to get the onions spread flat and you want the moisture to come off so that they get nice and caramelized. So I've let the pan get nice and hot and we're now going to add in our onions. Now that might look like a lot of onions, and it is a lot of onions, but the size will reduce over time, so it'll be easier to move them around as time goes on. Now on a medium and high heat we're going to fry these for about 5 minutes, and you want to keep stirring them around a bit just during this first 5 minutes. So after that first 5 minutes the onions should be looking translucent and they should have reduced in size as well. So now 5 minutes is up, we're going to add our brown sugar. So we're just going to sprinkle that on top. You're then going to want to reduce the heat to medium-low and stir in the sugar. Once you've stirred in the sugar, you're going to cover your pan. Now, if your pan's got a lid, good for you, use that. If not, you can either cover it with a plate, one that's big enough to go around the outside of the pan, or you can just cover it in some tin foil, which is what I'm going to do. There we go, snug as a bug. So we're going to leave that for 30 minutes now. After 15 minutes you can take the covering off, give it a bit of a stir and put the cover back on, but don't stir it too much because we want it to stick to the bottom of the pan a little bit and caramelize. And if you stir it too much, that's not going to happen, so leave it be. At this point you're also going to want to preheat your grill if that's how you're doing your sausages. That's how I'm doing my sausages, so I will turn on my grill to 200 degrees. If your grill doesn't have temperatures on it, then sort of medium high. So a tip that I've got for if you're grilling your sausages is to line your tray with some tin foil. So this means that when all the fat drips down from the sausage, you've got something to collect it in, and then you can just take that out and it makes cleaning the dish a lot easier. No matter how you cook your sausages, whether you're grilling them or frying them, whatever way you're going to do it, is you want to poke some holes in there with a fork. Probably best not to be holding it in your hands, but just to make it easier on the camera, I'm holding this one. And this just means that you're not going to get any weird lumps or bulges, and your sausages aren't going to sort of burst. Now, they don't really tend to burst nowadays. Apparently in olden times they would tend to sort of explode when they were being cooked, hence the name bangers. But nowadays it's mainly so that you don't get any weird like bubbles in them. So your sausages are probably going to take about 20 minutes under the grill. If you're cooking them another way, just check the pack instructions for how long they should take. So now all we've got to do is finish waiting for everything to cook. So while we've got the luxury of time in our hands, I will go through my student tip for this video. So my tip is, when possible, batch cook. So obviously this recipe is for 6 portions, so it is a batch cooking meal. A lot of my other videos that I'm planning to make for this series are going to be batch cooking videos. So batch cooking is going to make your life a heck of a lot easier. It means that you're going to save money because you can buy in bulk, and it also means that you're going to save a lot of energy and time on evenings where you're maybe going to be a bit busier. So what you can do is, when you've got a day or an afternoon off, make a big batch of something, portion it off into either freezer bags or little containers, pop them in the freezer, and then on days where you're a lot more busy, you can just take it out of the freezer either the night before and stick it in the fridge, or the morning and put it on the side somewhere. Hopefully your flatmates won't steal it. And then it's there for you to just reheat in the evening and enjoy. Now obviously you're going to need a freezer for this. Most student accommodation does come with freezers, and my advice to you is, when you're looking for flats, look for a place with a freezer. I never moved into a place that didn't have a freezer for this reason. But if you don't have a freezer, then possibly what you could do instead is make big batches of things and then share it with your flatmates. But yeah, batch cooking is the way to go really. You'll save yourself a lot of bother and stress. Now when you've got a couple of minutes left on the clock for your onions, what you can do is stick some water in your kettle and boil it, and you can either use a Pyrex jug or something to measure liquid in, or just a bog standard tea mug. Where's my one? There we go. Just a bog standard tea mug, and you can get your 2 dessert spoonfuls of gravy granules. One and 2, and your dessert spoonful of bouillon powder, and add that in. Now you can add water up to a pint in the Pyrex jug, and that's equivalent to 2 standard tea mugfuls. So what you then want to do is just mix your gravy granules and your stock together. Just make sure it's all mixed in with the water, so you've not got loads of lumps in there. So after 30 minutes, the onions are nice and caramelized. And then you can go ahead and pour that in with the onions. Okay, so that's going to look like a lot of liquid, but don't worry, it is going to reduce down. Just keep stirring it until it starts, as I say, to reduce into you know, the sort of consistency you'd expect gravy to be. Now, if you're saving it to be frozen, you might want to leave it a bit more liquidy, so that when you reheat it and some of the water comes off, it's not going to be like really stodgy. So it should take roughly another 5 minutes, if that, to get to the right sort of consistency that you want. So that's the gravy nice and thick now, and the sausages are looking like they've spent a week in Ibiza. So all we have to do now is prepare the mash or anything else that you want to put with it and stick it on a plate. Alright, so here it is all plated up. Sausage mash and gravy isn't really the prettiest of things, but I have tried. So we've got our nice golden sausages, we've got some nice fluffy mash, and we've got our slightly sweet caramelised onion gravy there. Thanks very much guys for watching to the end. If you'd like a written copy of the recipe, then you can find a link to my blog in the description. Something that I didn't mention at the beginning of the video was that I've now got a new ring light. I was just using one box light recently. I did have two at some point, but one broke after not very long. So that's what I had been using. I'm hoping the ring light makes my videos look a little bit more professional. So if you do notice a difference, then please let me know, whether it's positive or negative. Let me know if it is too bright. When I'm filming, it's quite difficult to gauge how bright something's going to be. The viewfinder isn't the best source of information on that. When I'm actually filming, the viewfinder tends to look brighter than the sort of end result tends to be, and I also can't see it very well if there's a light in my eyes. And obviously I'll see it when I edit it, but it would be nice to get some feedback. So if you think it looks better or worse, then please let me know. If you know you're a regular viewer and you notice a difference. Anyway, sorry for boring everybody with the videography talk. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this in the future, then hit the subscribe button and hit notifications to be notified when I upload a new video. And if you liked the video, then please like and leave a comment. It does help the channel progress, and it's nice for me as well to see positive feedback. But anyway, cheery bye for now. So to make this recipe, you will need a glug or two of any tasteless cooking oil, not tasteless, neutral tasting.